welcome back to Dream Analytica. We're gonna do another one of life's dreams today.
Let's go for it.
Start. You're gonna love it.
Okay, let me tell you about the dream. So in the first scene of my dream, I was in the forest and there was snow, and I remember it was freezing cold, and I am cold, and made it to a place where people rest. Like there was a fireplace and some buildings around, but it was more in nature. It reminded me of this medieval times, but it was in our time, like just a place where people gather and warm up and have something to eat, stuff like that. And then I sat next to Julia. You know her, for everyone that doesn't know her. I sat next to a girl that I have a complicated relationship with, connection with. And while she was, like, I was talking to her, and while she was talking to me, I just took her beer and drank it. And then she was looking at me and she was asking me if that was the only reason why I was talking to her. So she thought I was only talking to her so that I can snack her beer and drink it while she was talking. And yeah, that was the first part.
Cool. So, I mean, the main character here is the Anima, correct? Julia. And the Anima, like we talked about before, is the feminine principle in a man's psychology.
Yeah.
That Carl Jung termed anima, meaning soul. Here, she represents the negative aspect, right? Because of your association with Julia in real life.
Yeah.
What are those negative associations?
Like the last time I had contact with her, I told her she has a stick up her ass very far in. And I think, that's my association with her, like very emotional, irrational, double standards, toxic. I try to find some positive things, but that's basically the associations I have with her.
Yeah. So this would represent that since you've seen her in your dreams, those are the qualities of your inner feminine, right?
Yeah.
They represent those chaotic qualities in that woman, which is also cool to recognize that it's in stark, complete contrast with the environment, which is you said is calm. So here you have a calm environment with your piece of chaos.
Yeah.
In the form of the Anima. So to recognize her as an autonomous character within yourself represents that you yourself possess those qualities of associations that you just mentioned about Julia.
Yeah.
And did you mention what you said to Julia? Did you?
Yeah, I did.
You did?
Yeah.
So technically that means
my Anima has a stick up her ass.
Has a stick up her butt. How do you think that those Anima qualities show up in your waking life through you? As insecurities, as like fear of abandonment, people disappointing you?
Yeah,
the sensitive qualities?
I think it's exactly in that environments, like when like we talked about it a lot in the other dreams, like the pattern behind it is fear of abandonment, fear of not being good enough. That was what's lying beneath it. And I think when that's coming up, those qualities also come out, because I'm also reacting irrational. Like I told you 3 years ago, a lot more. Like when somebody was 15 minutes late, I took it as a personal insult, and I was like, "You're done for me," shit like that. But it still is there. And also, like last week in my panic situation, you could also see some of those qualities. And so I think that's the irrational side of the Anima taking over. And
So like, just to elucidate that situation that he had a few weeks ago, where he started panicking because of some external circumstance. For me, as his friend and also as interpreter of his dreams, I was able to clearly see this person that I'm talking to right now is not life.
Yeah, you even told me in this
Like,
moment.
you are
Yeah,
taken over by some other person
Yeah.
inside you, which turned out to be his anima. So then it shows you that now through the dreams, this is the first time actually that we've been able to identify that part of you and how she shows up in waking reality.
yeah,
And the problem with relationships before in the past was caused by you projecting those insecurities
yeah,
that actually came from your own internal relationship with your feminine.
yeah. That's
you
also what
projected onto
shows
women.
up in the dream, because she's like, she's asked me if I only talk to her so I could steal her beer from her. So it's insecurities that are there, and she feels the exact same thing, like
She's very
fear of
sensitive.
abandonment, insecurity. And I was like, I remember I didn't feel guilty or something in the dream. I was like, no, that's not it. Like if I sit next to you, you have a bag of chips there, I would just grab some. I wouldn't feel bad about it, and you wouldn't think I only talk to you so I can steal some of your chips.
True.
So that's how I felt, but it shows me like the same issues that are my pattern. Also, the Anima is the same pattern, and
it shows you a different perspective, right? It shows you like, okay, you may not be bothered by taking someone else's thing, but someone else may. And as a matter of fact, that someone else is inside you.
Yeah.
So a part of you actually does get bothered by that kind of stuff, but only when it happens to you.
Yeah.
You don't mind taking someone else, but if someone did it to you without asking,
yeah,
it probably not me because we're friends, but if someone,
yeah,
you don't know,
maybe not in this situation, but in different, exactly. So I also thought about that, because it's crazy, because I had this pattern, and like the same shit, like somebody coming too late, and most of the times it was not a personal insult, it's just something happened, but my interpretation was, he's not respecting my time.
But it's an
it's the same thing too. Exactly. It's like,
it's taking your time.
Yeah.
Instead of chips, it's time.
Exactly. And it's the same pattern, and
now you get to identify it.
Yeah, because I'm also treating other people like I don't think about it. I don't think every time, oh, is he maybe taking it this way or that way? And if I was with a girl and she was like, you're only here with me so you could steal my beer, I would just, don't be so bitchy about it.
Yeah.
So, but that tells me maybe I should be more empathetic.
For sure, certainly.
If I do those things.
And that would be your positive anima, right? Empathy.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's not only on the outside, because it's also only in the inside. It makes sense with the surroundings, because it was freezing cold. It shows me I am cold. I even said I was cold.
Yeah.
I was cold. So I was not caring. And even though this concern was not right, it still matters, because her feeling is that way, and I need to be more empathetic to show her it's not that way, instead of just, nah, I don't care,
Yeah, and what this also now tells me is your relationship with real women now is going to be vastly improved.
Yeah.
Because now you've not only identified those insecure qualities that don't stem from the ego, but stem from the anima. You could easily separate yourself from those moods when you do get into a feeling like this, or in a state of external vulnerability where it excites that mood within you, you no longer will project that onto another woman and see them in this general light, but as an individual who's just as complex as you are.
Yeah. I think I had that in the past. It's funny. Like when a girl was over for the weekend, and I told you before, and I was playing 2 hours of video games, and she was like very sensitive about it. Like, you don't care that I'm here. And I was like, don't be so emotional. I spent like 48 hours with you, and now I'm taking 2 hours for myself. So don't be so emotional about it. But that also shows me I could be more empathetic, because it's maybe not true, and maybe I'm even right, because it's not that I don't care about her, but if she feels that way right now, I could take the time and the empathy to just show her, explain it to her, because she's insecure right now. And that's how I guess I need to adapt, and I need to behave with other people.
Yeah.
Like it's going back to the other dreams, showing me I need to integrate my feminine qualities, more empathy, compassion, those things. And it's in the outside, like with other people, but at the same also in the inside, like to my anima, to myself even.
Yes.
We talked about that yesterday, like being compassionate to yourself.
Because
also understanding if you act irrational, like I'm beating myself up if I said I didn't do, I would do the work, but I didn't do, there is no understanding. Because I said I would do it, so I didn't do it, there is no excuse. But maybe
So, and it shows you, like, what kind of relationship you had with your own internal feminine if you were projecting those insecurities onto your ex, right?
Yeah.
Now I feel like you'd be able to pull yourself back and realize it in yourself first. And my question for you is, what do people get wrong about integrating the anima? I feel like people think it's about becoming more feminine, but it's not actually the case. It actually enhances your masculinity once you integrate your inner feminine, right?
Yeah. I think integrating the anima is even the wrong...
Yeah, it's the wrong term.
It's vetting the anima, right?
Like recognizing.
Yeah, so you need to build a relationship with her.
Right.
It's like you're building the relationship to your partner. If you have a good relationship with your girl, with your wife, it doesn't mean you're less masculine.
No.
But you also
it enhances your masculinity,
exactly,
doesn't it?
but you need to be like, my picture of it is being whole. So also the masculine is the vessel, and you need to be masculine for it to be a container for also the anima, the feminine.
Yeah.
So first of all, it needs to be there, and it needs to be strong.
Yeah.
But it doesn't need to be going overboard, like this fake masculinity, because that is really insecurity, and that is like, could be anima possession again, like this, the guy that's the loudest and the most talking shit, he's the most insecure.
And that what law is that? Like the law of opposites?
The law of opposites, yeah.
Where if you have a very overly outwardly masculine guy, you can be well sure that he has a very sensitive feminine aspect inside. Same for women. If they're overly feminine on the outside, they have actually quite a big masculine energy inside.
Yeah, and I think if you integrate the feminine aspects, it makes you even more masculine. It doesn't mean you have to be feminine then, but you can do both. You can be, if shit hits the fan, you can be masculine, you can take care of things, you can be rational, goal-oriented, but on the other side, you also want to have relationships, you want to be compassionate, you want to be with your family.
You want to be loved.
Exactly, right? You want to be loved, and you also need to love, so you need both. And if it's only one, you're not whole, you're overboard in one direction.
You're gonna look, if you lack if a man lacks his inner femininity, he's gonna look for that outside.
Yeah.
And that's the wrong place to look, because you're projecting. Once you start projecting, you lose it within yourself.
Yeah. And I think, if you are really masculine, you can also be secure about showing feminine qualities, because you are so secure in your masculinity, that only if I show some love or some compassion, it doesn't mean that I'm not masculine anymore.
Yeah.
But actually, if you are scared of that, it shows you that you are not that masculine,
Right.
because otherwise you would have the confidence.
Yeah.
It's the same. Like, I had a friend in Germany, and he was like this biker, also tattooed everywhere, and he had a motorbike. And his rule in life was never let a man drive with you on a motorbike. And I was like, he's so scared to be seen as a gay guy, for example.
It didn't even register for me, because it just was like,
he's so scared of that, that he puts that in the outside. If you're secure, if you're secure in your sexuality, then you would know that even if you bring a friend to the store with the motorbike with you, it doesn't mean you're fucking gay.
Yeah, it doesn't.
But you need to be secure for that.
And what's the misconception about femininity, masculine, their inner femininity? I think there's a misconception. They think, oh, you have to behave in a certain, like, more feminine, but that's not what feminine power is. It's like, feminine power to me is like intuition, empathy, relationship, connectedness, groundedness to the earth.
And I think you are, like, I had a mentor, and he was, I can't describe it. You had this feeling of awe when you talk to him, and he implemented both qualities at the same time. You can feel the masculine energy. This guy you would respect him. He has authority, and you see it, how he moves, how he speaks. But at the same time, you feel like the sun shines upon you, like he's smiling at you, he's talking to you, he's giving you 100% of the attention, like he's not somewhere else. So he implemented both qualities. And I think that even makes you a unique character, and that makes you strong.
It enhances,
and it's like this overly masculine guy walking around puffed up, and it's not that. And I think people,
like, trying to grow like a beard or just the persona, like,
and I think
trying to present yourself as something you're not.
And I think that's being strong. Like, people think that they appear weak, or that they make them appear weak when they show feminine qualities. But it's the other way around. If you show feminine qualities, or you show yourself not weakness but vulnerability, it's actually strength, because there is no power needed, or no strength, no bravery needed for showing people the persona or your strength, but also being honest with your vulnerabilities. That's what takes strength and bravery. So it's like the other way around.
True. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. So how difficult is it for you personally to build that relationship with your Anima?
Like, I think in the beginning, I had dreams about women, and I told you that I didn't know about the concept of the Anima. So I thought my dreams show me that my need of connection, or that I miss real connection in my actual life. But you showed me it's like the Anima, and the Anima is a part of yourself. And you also told me that now I can find the love and the connection that I'm seeking within myself. And that this picture helped me a lot. Like, not even like loving myself, but even having the picture of the Anima, like an autonomous, complex person, even in your unconscious. That helped me a lot. And I think, but it's, I can't say, because there is no progress bar.
True. It's like a relationship. There is no progress bar in a relationship. It's just building it.
I think what I can say is I'm getting aware of a lot of things, like the things that we talked before about, like being more compassionate, not being so cold. And I'm learning those things. I still think it's a far way, because now I'm aware. That doesn't mean it's gone and I behave in a better way, but now I can see it. And I may still behave that way, and even after it happened, I will see it. But the more I do, the better I can behave.
Yeah,
And I think the better the relationship gets.
will get. And I like that image of your own internal woman. Like, think of her as an independent being inside yourself, and it's your job to love her, and it's your job to protect her, which means, in fact, you are loving a part of yourself and protecting the other half of yourself too.
Yeah.
So you have to treat, if you want to treat her well, that ultimately means you have to treat yourself well.
Yeah.
And there's no more important woman than her.
Yeah.
So you have to take care of yourself if you want to treat her right and treat her well. And just by doing that, your relationships with real women in the real world improve.
Yeah. Do you think that you have to have a good relationship with your anima first before you can make a real life relationship work?
I don't think so. I mean, there's probably a lot of people that have good relationships, but I think it helps a lot. I think I can't. Sorry.
We should have some bricks here that we can throw down every time somebody. That's my channel, guys.
I'm thinking.
Nice to meet you.
So, can you ask me the question again?
Do you think you need to have a good relationship with your anima first before you can have a good relationship with a real partner?
I actually think if you want a healthy relationship, the answer to that question would be yes. I think you would have a successful relationship if you yourself have this successful relationship with your own internal femininity, because a lot of the projections stop in the real relationship.
So it means that how you treat your own anima, the relation that also
Right.
that also is how you treat women outwardly or people outwardly. And you mentioned projection. What does it mean?
Yeah. So a lot of, I'm speaking mainly for men here, but men tend to project their inner image of the anima onto real women. So they see the outer woman as this perfect being,
this divine picture of femininity,
immortal,
the goddess, the perfect, attractive woman.
And then when they get into a relationship, they realize the image and the actual person don't match.
Yeah.
And that real person is just a human that has human tendencies, flaws, inconsistencies.
Yeah.
And the whole image is destroyed, and then the relationship ends. And that's a big problem. And the same can be said as well for women with their animus, which is the masculine qualities.
I think that even happens a lot for men before a relationship. Like, I think one of the most scary things for men is an attractive woman. There are these funny videos on TikTok where the guy says, "Oh, this girl behind there, do you see her? Yeah, I think I'm in love with her." And then the friend says, "Yeah, go talk to her." And he says, "No."
Because they're in love with the image.
Yeah, you project this divine picture of the femininity you have inside your anima, you project it onto the woman. So she is attractive, but in your mind she's without flaws. She's even divine. Like, she doesn't take a shit at home. She doesn't have her flaws. But if you really talk to some really attractive woman, you know that they have the same problems.
They're just humans.
Exactly.
We're all just human.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you realize they have fears, they have insecurities, they have hopes, they have dreams, they have trauma. I mean, they're
oftentimes even more insecurities that other women, in my experience, I don't know if it's true in the bigger scale, but if you are like this judged by outward appearance a lot, then you have the feeling a lot more that people don't see who you are, and therefore even more the feeling people only like you for your persona,
This is the
for your attractiveness, for what they see, but you have the feeling they don't see you for who you are, and therefore you have even more, some have even more insecurities.
that's Marilyn Monroe, that description. Like
Yeah.
the men only loved her for her image, and she was in fact very lonely in the end, because she could not build an authentic relationship because no one would take the time to learn
Yeah.
her depth.
And I think for men it's
Maybe
the
she didn't have any
same.
depth.
For men it's the same with success. I'm not saying that all that matters in women is attractiveness and with men it's success.
Yeah.
But it tends to be correlated a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's the same with men. I also had that in my past. I thought I need to be the successful rich guy, so also I'm worthy enough to having
To be loved.
to be loved, to have a good partner, because I thought if I was poor, if I had nothing going on in my life, they wouldn't like me. But it's the same shit, because when you actually do, I saw that when I put photos of me in front of my office, my business, my suit in there, I attracted people, but the wrong people, because they were only there for my persona, for my outward success. They were not there for me. And then I realized that it's completely the wrong approach, man.
And guess what? Like, once you recognized your anima, you realized she loves you regardless of your success. So you always have that sense of security. You know who you are. Like, she doesn't love you for those qualities. She loves you because you connect with her, because you take the time to give her what she needs. You are there for her.
Yeah.
Right? No amount of success will ever give you that wholeness.
Yeah.
And now you can take that relationship and share that same qualities with a real woman.
Yeah.
And appreciate her for who she is as a human.
Exactly.
With all the flaws.
Yeah. And I think that's a message that needs to get out also in social media, because there is this movement going on with Andrew Tate and also the feminists and whole podcasts, and they always try to, like with the body count thing, and men only want women, they don't have a high body count, and like there is some truth to it, like attractiveness matters, like you can't lie about that, but it's wrong that all women just look for a successful guy. It maybe also correlates, but I think there are some gold diggers for sure, they just care about the money, but most of them, they like successful men because the traits they have. Like, it's attractive if you are intelligent, it's attractive if you care about something, and if you pursue it instead of sitting at home only watching Netflix, that's attractive. Some attractive qualities, and I think the same it's for...
I think that what you mentioned is all a facade. I think women, well, everyone in general actually just wants to be heard and understood and seen. And there's no quicker way, no deeper way, no better way than dreams, because that's the essence of who you are.
Yeah.
And so if you have a partner and you talk about dreams, then you learn about the essence of each other.
Yeah.
And all this nonsense, all this noise with the Andrew Tate and the feminine, it all goes away, because there's no more trying to identify yourself with a cause. You have your own identity. This whole thing is just because everyone's lost their own identity.
Yeah.
Now, if you find your anima, you find your soul, you find your identity.
Yeah. It's the same shit with them, because they've been hurt, and then they have this image of all women are bad or only one successful, because that's the narrative they need to feed themselves in order to maintain their identity and their pattern of thoughts here.
I personally, I don't think any of those guys knows a clue of what they're talking about.
Yeah, sure.
They have zero.
But I think it's exactly the same with the feminists. It's with every.
It's both.
It's with every ideology. Like, that's the opposite of individuation. Like psychology, Carl Jung, it's about individuation, right? So you have your own thoughts. You're becoming your true self, like who you are, and not the thoughts and patterns and things that just somebody puts in your mind that you just catch up and that you repeat. And
I also like to claim, like, I'm not an expert in this thing. This is just our opinion, right?
yeah,
You know, we're not in any position of authority to say what is right and what is wrong. People have their right to choose whatever movement or whatever movement they want to go through. It's a lot of scooters today. But ultimately, I think the goal of this, what we're doing, is to break away from the generalizations,
yeah,
the assumptions, and it sounds so simple, but really just by understanding dreams, you get to the heart of the person, to their inner center, and you see them for who they really are, and
yeah,
they get seen for who they really are.
yeah.
No persona, no facade.
Exactly, because you need to get rid of the projection, because if
That's
you
the
are in this
problem.
ideology, that's exactly what you said. You don't see people for who they are. You see people because you project your own image of what happened to you in the past onto people. It's for the feminists, like, I had a toxic boyfriend and he was always sitting like that and he was like this. So every guy that's spreading his legs, it's called man spreading, and it's this pattern, but it's my projection. And it's the same with the other movement. Like, I've been hurt from women in the past and they only act like this, or they slept with someone else while we are in a relationship, so all women are like this. It's only your hurt inner child,
Yeah.
and that's what you're projecting
And
on
then you
all the people.
tend to
What you're
generalize.
yeah, exactly.
And that's no one's saying that it's easy to. I think the word would be forgive, right? To move on, like to accept that particular situation in which you were hurt. Maybe you could extrapolate to some other situation, but if you're dealing with a completely new person, it's going to be a completely new experience.
Yeah, and I think you need to be strong enough and brave enough to be fine with that, to be fine with the possibility of happening that you are being hurt again, but you are so secure and confident enough that you see you can deal with it.
Yes.
Because the other way is this reaction, and it's self-protection. It's like you build up walls and you build up belief system that try to protect you from never being hurt again.
Right.
But it also means you will never have a connection again.
Yeah.
Nobody said it would be easy or
Yeah.
that you can't be hurt again.
Yeah.
But you need to become so secure in who you are yourself, and that you also can
have the capacity to continue loving.
Yeah, and to deal with the situation. Like I mentioned this metaphor of a bird once that is not afraid of the tree breaking down beneath it because it fucking can fly. So you should be okay with somebody. If you're having a connection with somebody, they may hurt you.
They will.
But you need to be fine with that.
Yeah.
Because you can deal with it.
Yeah, and that goes about knowing yourself.
Yeah.
And really through dreams.
Yeah.
We're going to keep repeating it. That's what the channel is like for. That was a deep topic. I could keep going, to be honest. Yeah.